Hello. Happy Thursday.
Good morning, everyone.
We're a little, like a couple minutes late this morning. We're working out some technical stuff behind the scenes, and thank you for joining us.
Apparently, I think blah, 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 blah. I can't speak this morning. It does not bode well. Mercury, I think, goes out of retrograde this week, so I think it's
Oh.
its last little pokes into us. So,
Yeah, that would make sense because I had some issues on Instagram this morning too. I was just saying. Without further ado, because we have already wasted 4 minutes without having this lovely guest in front of us. So here is our guest this week, and Janelle.
yay!
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Anne.
Annie.
How are you? How you doing?
Great.
Good, good.
I'm, I'm very happy that we're here together in the way that we're together. And yeah, I've been really looking forward to this chat. I can't wait.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, so we are happy to have you here. And of course, we've been actually doing these since June, I think. Hey, Michelle?
Yeah, beginning of
Yeah, and so we're super stoked that you were able to join us. And, we started it as a way to selfishly stay connected during the pandemic.
That's
And,
not selfish.
and,
That's
and
survival.
exactly, and
exactly.
also finding out what people have been doing to keep busy. So obviously, being in the music industry, and you've had to definitely shift your focus. So maybe give us a sense of what you've been doing since everything changed.
Such a big change for us. So we were probably spending about 2/3 of the year on the road. So I tour with my husband, James Hill. And yeah, all of a sudden, like the cancellations started coming in, and we had about 2 years that were just canceled within the space of like 2 months.
Oh my.
So we pivoted. We pivoted hard. James has this wonderful online. He's a ukulele teacher, and he's got this online learning empire called utropolis.com. So he's been pouring a lot of time and energy. Sorry, that's the chainsaw in the background. Um, he's been doing a lot to beef up his offerings, and then on my side I just have strongly pivoted towards the teaching side of things. So we were on Zoom private cello lessons for a while, and now I'm seeing my students in person. But big changes.
Oh.
That's crazy. I mean, so much is happening online right now. And so you said just to give us an idea, so you're in Brookfield, is that right?
Yes.
And so when you say you're now able to see students in person and teach your cello lessons in person, where does that happen?
So we've got this like barn that is a recording studio slash teaching studio. So it's in the barn. So we set up at opposite ends, and yeah, it's I mean I won't say I have a huge cello studio, but we just kind of meet one on one at least probably more like 10 or 12 feet apart. The cello's loud, it's good, we can hear each other. And yeah, I mean, I've actually really enjoyed the fact that Zoom and this way of meeting, even like this, has just become normalized. Because I think before, you get into a groove with your students, you get some momentum happening, and then, a snowstorm happens, or we go on tour or whatever. And this has just been one of the longest stretches in, as far as I can remember, that I've had this regularity with the students. And I'm loving the technology for what it's bringing to the table.
I
That's great.
agree. We've said it a bunch before in these conversations that there's those little nuggets of things that are positive that we will likely be able to move forward with as well. So to continue to, implement Zoom into meetings if necessary or what have you, I think will be more more the norm moving forward too once things get back, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, well, who knows what back is anyways,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
but we've been, I actually took a conference, like we've taken a few conferences online since the pandemic, and it's quite amazing like how much business you can do. I mean, it's not as good as being in person, but it's way better than nothing. Like I've been really happy with, yeah, being able to use these tools. Going to, quite frankly, places that we wouldn't be traveling to even if we could, you know, like it's just made us much more able to connect with people around the world and in these different formats.
Well, we have Ben watching from Michigan. I don't know, Anne, if you can see the comments on the right-hand side of your
Oh, I
screen.
can't.
So,
Hi, Ben.
hello. Ben.
Oh, sweetie.
And you've been, give us an idea, and like, where have you toured? Like, give us kind of a scope of where your cello has taken you.
Okay, yeah. I like countries. We've been all over the place. So we've been New Zealand, Australia, all over Europe, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, England, Scotland, Brazil, Mexico, all across North America, Thailand, Korea, Japan. Like
It's
we've been a few
insane.
places.
You say it might be easier to ask, where haven't you been? Where haven't you been?
Yeah. So this is, but you know, it's interesting. I'm getting a new perspective on this travel because I think it was just sort of a normalized thing where you just hop on a plane. I mean, like literally, we were on a European tour and we spent the weekend in Singapore. We literally flew all the way down to Singapore from Europe for a weekend festival there.
Wow.
And this was just kind of like, you know, whatever, just what you do. And now I look back and I'm like, that just what? Like that was crazy. Not only like crazy for our bodies and like, you know, whatever kind of health things, but also just environmentally and yeah. So I mean, I've really appreciated this time to be stationary and to have this just this like shake up of what travel is okay, like what is, you know, going to be acceptable or within the realm of okay, and what's just excessive.
Yeah, and I mean, having your little guy obviously would be beneficial to know and have that time at home with him too, and a different focus, I guess.
Yeah, so I have a son, he's 5, older, and he's in primary, like he's in French immersion primary at Truro Elementary, and this is something that never occurred to us. Like it just wouldn't have been possible in our old schedule in our old life. So, yeah, it's he's loving it, and I think it's been a great way of connecting with the community, and there's just so many silver linings, so many, and helping us to really dig into a community. Like we grew up out west. Both James and I are from different suburbs of Vancouver, and kind of made our way across via Ottawa. And we've been here for 13 years, but it's just like only really since the pandemic that we've been able to like be here, you know?
Yeah, no, it's great. And we're so happy that you guys have made Truro home. And I know you mentioned James has his ukulele school, and I know he like the reach that you guys have yourself just through that program is massive. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that too, Anne?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Ben is a ukulele friend. We've made so many friends through the ukulele, and
That's great.
it's an incredible community, you know. And this is one of these beautiful serendipitous accidental things in my life where you just stumble on it and then you're like, this is amazing. Okay. But there's this dedicated group, this community of inclusive, like hands-on, very passionate people surrounding this beautiful, like underdog of an instrument. And so a lot of James's work, well, it's interesting. Like, well, I don't think he's listening right now, but it's like, I'll talk about his career arc. I don't know if he'd agree necessarily, but you know, when he was younger, it was all about like, he was proving the instrument, and he was exploring and doing some groundbreaking, like technical things. And, you know, now with all of that knowledge and with that like in-depth experience as a ukulele player, he's now taken that and you know, parsed it out into these beautiful little packages of education where his students can get these little nuggets from this guy who's like a super uke guru dude. And yeah, now he's brought that whole online program so people from all over the world can just like play ukulele in their pajamas all day. Like it's a pretty amazing offering.
And
That's
it's
great.
really, sorry, Michelle, I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say that's great, because when I think of the ukulele, it seems like such a happy instrument, you know, and knowing that people, especially right now, are embracing it and having so much fun. That just makes my heart happy.
Totally. And there is something so important about making your own music. And I see this all the time with my cello students. And it's interesting, like my studio now is all adult students who, this is like the second chance. Like they've always wanted to play cello, and oh my goodness, this is great. And, you know, so they're super invested, but, you know, older. And I think this is a lot of similar thing that James, the opportunity that James has with his students is people, you know, they had the piano teacher who told them they were horrible, or you know, they had these like awful musical experiences that now they come to the uke, and it's so easy to start, it's so easy to play, it's just like a dreamy instrument compared to the cello, mind you. But I think that is part of the joy of it too. Like you are making your own beautiful music like right now, and it's very powerful. And this, you know, I'm a classically trained cellist, and all that entails, there's a bit of like an elitist thing going on. There's a bit of like it's just hard. Like the playing cello was just hard. It's a really it takes years. I always tell my students, it's going to take 3 years before you make a decent sound. I'm really sorry about that, but it just takes a long time. It's just a very complex skill with so many moving parts, and anyway, and no frets, you know. But the ukulele is it's super accessible, and it's a wonderful entry point. It's very empowering, I think, for people. So yeah, Michelle, like people are so happy to make their own music and to be engaged in that way. It's really cool.
Could you guys have chosen two more different, like, I picture you guys have traveled all over the world. You're like lugging this giant cello with you, and then James is just like,
well, no, actually James lugs the cello. And in high school, this is a little known fact, I actually played tuba in high school. So I was always like with these huge instruments. I guess I'm just attracted to that low end. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So James and I met at UBC. So both of us did our undergrad at UBC in music there. But we were in different years. So everyone, all string players play in an orchestra. So James's first instrument is violin, and he did a degree on viola actually. So we met in the orchestra. So we actually met in this like classical music context. And then it was only once we kind of started hanging out as friends that I found out about this like underbelly, like ukulele. What is that thing? What are you doing? So it's interesting. Like we did have a lot in common when we first met. It's just that, well, and we've sort of come full circle, because then we sort of parted ways musically, and he was really pursuing ukulele, and I was pursuing classical cello. And then we kind of brought things back again when we're like, actually, we just want to be together and we want to be touring together. And how can we make that happen? So we're going to create music where we can be together instead of like, you're off touring, I'm off touring. It's just, it's too lonely that way.
Yeah. That's so cool that you were able to do that and make that work. I love that.
Mhm.
I want to do a quick shout out because I know James, I don't know exactly what his involvement has been with, and I know we're not here to talk about James, we're here to talk about you.
Oh, well, we're always here to talk about James. Let's be honest. That's all good. He's amazing.
This connection, because I saw you guys play at the Marigold Center, so in my head I'm connecting you to the Marigold, and I'm connecting James to the ukulele players, the Marigold ukulele players, who are like, who knew? I did not know this until a couple of years ago when I worked in the Marigold building and saw all of these people gathering once a week or however often to play ukulele. There's like 20 of these people. It's insane.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, Angela Dwyer is the director of that group.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a huge history of ukulele in this world, in this part of the world, I should say. And in fact, one of the reasons we live in Nova Scotia is because of Chalmers Dome. Like, we just kind of, James was working with him on some books, and we kind of just found ourselves here because we love it. And it's nice to see that this lineage is being kept up, and people like Angela, there's just tons of people. And James also, you know, what doesn't he do? He's got a teacher training program as well, so he's trying to encourage people to keep ukulele alive in their own communities. So
I mean, Angela's a huge advocate. She's so passionate about it, and she's been amazing. So instrumental in getting that group to perform at different events. Of course, when events were a thing.
I can hardly remember that part.
Yeah, she's super passionate. It's awesome to see that.
Yeah, she's great.
And the first time that I saw you was at Joyful Yoga Studio. I don't remember the year. It was quite a few years ago now, but it was, I think, my all-time favorite yoga event because Anne played the cello to accompany our yoga class.
Oh, and wow.
I swear, if you could just make that happen every weekend, I would be very
Yeah, well, Joy and I have done a few of those workshops. Yeah, so I'm also a trained yoga teacher randomly. Well, I mean, I guess it's not that random, but I did my teacher training in India in 2007. So it's a big passion of mine, and it's actually really beautiful. So I've also played cello a lot with contemporary dance, and I've danced a lot. So there's this like relationship between music and movement. And so I guess when I go to play at a yoga class, it's kind of a similar thing where you're just responding all the time. What's happening? What do you feel like the people doing the yoga class need to hear at that moment to deepen the stretch or to relax or to so it's quite a fun way of using my music as service, which is something I've been thinking a lot about and wanting to explore different avenues of just making music that can serve people in their lives and in the way that they need it.
It was such a cool experience because, like you said, there was just this flow that happened between you and Joy that was just so organic, but it was just really cool. And I mean, being a huge music fan and finding that connection was just really, really neat. And Joy's great at bringing community together in those interesting ways too.
She sure is. Yeah, she's a real beacon for all kinds of interesting people and projects. And as I said, we've done a few of those classes together, and I've taken some stuff there and did mom and baby yoga way back when Alder was a baby, and yeah, just delighted that she's doing what she's doing.
It's so cool. And you've got a couple more hellos in the comments there from Christopher Buckley and Liz Mumford.
Oh,
I
hi
don't know if those are
guys.
more of your uke family or.
No, these are like literally I sent out a mail out like 15 minutes before saying, "Hey, I'm doing this, guys.
Yay! Oh,
Come
that's
join me."
great.
So it's like whoever was at their computer, now they're here. Hi everybody. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Big hugs.
I love that. So what's next? I asked this question knowing that a lot of folks do not know the answer to it right now in the midst of all of the craziness that is 2020. But I know you've been working hard at home. So maybe you want to share with us a little bit, Anne, of what's coming next for you.
Sure. Yeah, it's very challenging to plan the future, and I we're sort of in transition right now anyway. So okay, so this answer has two parts. So the first part is immediately I'm working on a new Christmas single that I'm going to be releasing in the next few weeks, and
Nice.
I'm super excited about it and the video, and yeah, there's some cool people involved in that project. So yeah, so that's like coming very soon. And in the new year, James and I are actually working on a brand new band project. So the band is called Champagne Weather, and it.
That's a fantastic name, by the
Oh,
way.
I'm glad you like it.
I
Yeah, it's
love
supposed to be
it.
like really moody and evocative. So it's a musical departure for us. So this pandemic has come at a really interesting time in our artistic lives because we feel this big change. Like I don't know. I just look around and I see people doing the same things they've always been doing or playing the same music they've always played, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like how can there's a lot going on right now in the world. The pandemic has brought all these things to the fore, and so much stuff, environmental, race, gender, like it's just like, you know. And I feel a responsibility as an artist who is, and this is not talking about recreative artists. I think that's wonderful, and I love playing classical music. So it's not about that. But as a creative artist, I feel a responsibility to be creating music of the time, like right now. And it's similar to what we were just talking about in that yoga class. It's like, what do you need right now? So let me try and give you what you are needing right now. And I think for me as an artist, this is a time of renewal. It's a time of innovation. It's a time to reflect on what we were doing and look ahead to this unknown future. Like it's so exciting. It's like it's such it's such an exciting time. There's so much potential, I think, in this time in history in terms of, from an artistic lens anyways. And so this Champagne Weather project is part of that whole conversation with us in the world, really. And so if you can imagine like minimal classical music from the 1960s, if you know any of the, like Philip Glass or Steve Reich, it's like this very sort of repetitive, like bubbling kind of music. And then that kind of meets old time fiddle music, which is very repetitive and
Wow.
sort of mantric in its own way. And then that meets like James and Anne singing, like in their folky kind of natural style. And then that meets this synth bass that's just this like poppy kind of lends this poppy sort of timbre to the whole mix. So that's Champagne Weather in a nutshell. And
That's a lot, and I love it.
but it's like it sort of makes sense when you see where we've come from, and because we have that classical background, like I've been looking for years to try and bring that into this sort of more folky songwriterly stuff that I'm doing, and this is just kind of organically presented itself. So it's this style of like, it's sort of quasi improvisatory, and yeah. Anyway, it's talking about music, right? Like it's almost what? Why am I talking about it? But it's just it's an exciting sound. I think it's an innovative sound, but most importantly, like it just feels like us, and it feels like a new artistic statement. Or it's not a statement even, it's just like it's an expression. It's just like this is the music of right now when we don't know.
Yeah. I love that, and I love your positive take on as a creator, as an artist, looking at all of this in that positive lens to say what can we do to shift and flow with what's happening. And
It's
I think that's so
so
cool.
exciting. And and whenever I see people who are kind of, down on it, I can there's so much opportunity. There is so much. Well, I'll tell you another project. It's not coming up, but a song that I wrote recently. It's called "We Can Make a Change," and actually, thank you to you, Sam, for directing me to Rachel Cargill's course. And I've been working through that. Her Do the Work course is incredible and like so depressing and humbling and like, oh, anyway, amazing. And so you look at all of these things, and as you learn more about what's happening, it's like, okay, so how, again, like how can music affect change? What does that look like? So it's almost like this modern anthem for change and how we envision it. And so I wrote a few verses, and then I kind of put it out to the community, to the world, to say, okay, write me some verses. What do you want to see? What do you want to be changed, and how can we support you in that, essentially? And so that's wecanmakeachange.org. And I don't know if either of you like to write verses, but
Yes.
it's just, yeah, and you know what, you don't, the beauty of this song, it's like a Pete Seeger thing. Like, you don't have to be a songwriter, you don't have to be a poet. It's more about like, okay, is there anything that I want to change, either in myself or in what I see around me? Great, that's your starting point. Then you write 2 lines and boom, like you got your new verse. So yeah, it's just another way of navigating this. It's like, what does a song look like right now? It's collaborative, it's expressive, it's, hopefully communicating this greater humanity and these struggles that we're all facing together. It's just, it needs to be a unifying thing, and yet we can't be together in the same space. So it's like this very, you just have to be creative. I mean, that's what we do. We're in the business of being creative. You have to find your ways of trying to get that unity without actually being together.
Oh, totally. I just love that so much. And I absolutely want to write a verse. That sounds
Do, please. And anyone who's listening on the call, or anyone who listens later. So it's wecanmakeachange.org. And like, I think there's at least, I don't know, like 6 or 7 countries represented already. So it's kind of a bit of a growing thing too. And
so this song is going to be about 30 minutes long.
And you know what? Actually, somebody was like, okay, wait, how are you going to perform? Like, what? How are you going to record this? And I was like, I'm not. This is not the point. This is not a commercial thing to sell. Like, how liberating, right? Like, it's just music to sing together. And like, every verse that comes into me, I sing it. Like, even if it's just like me at my computer, I sing it, and I validate, and I honor that contribution that whoever made. And I think there's something really magical about it. It's almost like this covenant that we're, okay, this is what I want. I support you in that. And how beautiful that we can do that through music.
So cool. I love that a lot. We have a question from Ben. He says, I love this question, by the way. He says, I know Alder has been infatuated playing vinyl on the turntable. He's a little to my own heart. But has he shown any interest in learning to play an instrument yet?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting issue, not issue. What's the word I'm looking for? Situation, maybe. So both James and I, like, were classically trained. James started when he was like 3, playing Suzuki violin, and yeah, so we're what I would say like highly trained people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's good, but there's things that are missing. I mean, you can't get everything you need from one training program, I guess. So we're sort of, yeah, like hanging back and watching where Alder's interests are. It's kind of too bad that we can't do it over again if we totally screw this up, but we're we're trying to see. Because okay, so here's the thing. It's really really hard to teach somebody how to be a creative musician or to be like a creative thinker in general. So, and this is something that like I never, it was just missing in my training and whatever. Like I wouldn't go to classical training to try and learn how to be a creative musician. It's just not the right space for that. But that, I feel like the technique, the proficiency, that stuff can come later. So right now what we're trying to do with Alder is just like exposing him to music. Almost like a music immersion. You know, he's in French immersion at school, but like when he comes home it's kind of like music immersion. So we're always making up silly songs together, and we've got, I mentioned this studio out in the barn, so he loves drums. He loves the drum kit. So he's all into the drums. I think, Ben, if that was like the thing, it would probably be drums right now for him. But yeah, I feel pretty good about that so far, because I feel like he's just getting this opportunity to express without somebody saying, well, you got to hold the stick this way, or you have to press down, or you have to do this. Like right now there's no parameters, and he can just explore in a very kid-like, very beginner's mind kind of way, where he's just like, oh, okay, I like that. I don't like that. I don't have to explain why. I don't need to know. I've heard, yeah, we do have our turntable in the kitchen, and Ben's referring to this lovely little piece that this woman, Cindy Carpian, did on how we're bringing Beethoven into Alder's life, because it's Beethoven 250. We're celebrating that this year, but it's always there. Music's always accessible to him, and he's the DJ now because we moved it down. We moved it down to his level, so like we never get to choose what we listen to anymore. It's always him. But you know, like it's okay because he likes Michael Jackson and he likes Beethoven, he likes Bob Marley. It's like all our record collection, right? So it's like, okay, well, we can't go too far wrong with that because it's all stuff that we like anyways. But yeah, it just empowers him to make his own musical decisions. And so yeah, he's just developing his aesthetic sense. Really, it's pretty exciting to watch.
That is so cool. Mm-hmm. And I mean, having two musical parents, I think definitely it's got to be in his blood somewhere, right?
He's also obsessed with beatboxing right now.
Oh wow.
And I don't like he does. So we're super hippie parents, so we're screen free. Like we don't have a TV. He's had 0 screen time. Which, you know, when he realizes that, he's probably going to have a big kind of a moment there. But anyway, we're hanging on as long as we can. We're like, okay, let's just, you know. So he doesn't have a lot of exposure, let's just say, to like pop culture or, you know, anything outside of his own immediate experience. Yeah. So he doesn't know beatboxing's a thing. Like he doesn't know that. He's just making these sounds. And he has no idea. Like speaking of passionate niche communities like the ukulele, beatbox is the same kind of thing. There's like this worldwide global movement of people who want to just make their own music, and so he's beatboxing all the time. So yes, all of that to say, like, he's got rhythm, he's always singing, he's always doing something musical, which is also really fun because, you know, I think as a parent, you just never know what you're going to get. And the fact that he is truly interested in music, it's just a good chemistry. Like it's a good match, and I'm thankful for that because we don't have to, you know, have him listen to music or force that issue. Like he's just in there. He loves it.
That's so cool. I love
Yeah.
that. And it maybe is allowing you guys to see music in a different way too, right? Like from his
Absolutely.
perspective.
There's no question. So what's been really fun for me is watching his, yeah, just like the evolution of his interests and how, as I said, like how he's developing his aesthetic sense. I don't remember when I was 5, really, like a few memories,
Yeah.
but to be able to watch him and his musical development, it's like, okay, that's how I should be teaching my students, you know, and like these are the things that are actually important, not that sometimes I get lost in like the details and the
Yeah.
but yeah, he's really it's been a huge gift to just have that reminder of, okay, this is music, like foundation. It's like bottom of the first floor. Like this is that.
That's super cool. I love that. And I'm so curious. I always am curious when I talk to anyone who's in the music industry. I know you said you have quite, sounds like an eclectic collection of records. But what, if you were picking what you were going to play on vinyl this afternoon, what are you listening to? And
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I just don't even know how to answer that. Yeah, what am I listening to these days?
maybe that's an
I
annoying question to ask someone in the music industry. Is that
Well,
obnoxious?
it's not obnoxious. It's not obnoxious, but I'll tell you that it's a different experience. The way I listen to music and the way you guys listen to music,
Yeah.
because I'm listening with a certain bias and training and all of these things. So it means that I can't just like sit back and listen as you guys do, and I'm envious of that in some ways, of that ability just to like just enjoy the music, right? Like just
Yeah.
revel in that. So I listen in different ways, and quite honestly, these days, mostly my listening is research. It's research. Either I'm looking into other bands and seeing what they're doing, or I'm researching producers and who have they worked with, or I'm yeah, it's kind of a more of a like a business like listening, if I can describe it in that way. And also, this is the time in my life too. You know, you have a young child. There's not a lot of time that's your own, apart from the, you know, the hours where he's at school, where you're trying to get everything, all your work and everything done. But yeah, it's just a different listening experience, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I
It's
came
all
across
good.
this beautiful. No, I want to tell you about it because it was really beautiful. This one single. Anyways, I'll send it to you later. But I had this moment with this song where I became a fan of music again,
Oh, yay.
which is actually saying something, because so often, well, and this happens as creative musicians, I think, like you're listening and you're like, no, it's not it, that's not it, that's not what I want, that's not what I, you know, because meanwhile, like, you need to make what it is you want to hear in the world, of course.
Yeah.
But this one song, I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is how fans feel. Like, oh, you hear something and you're just like, oh my God, I have to hear this over and over and over. And oh, horse light, like, let me, oh my goodness, I have to look this up. I have to figure out what this is.
I love it.
Light horseman, I don't know. Anyways, ask me the next question. I'm just gonna look this up so I can actually tell you what this is.
We'll multitask because I'm now
because
very curious to what song you're talking about as well.
it's beautiful.
I love asking that question because I just always assume that music performers, I mean, it's your world, right? So I just always assume that I've never looked at it like research before, and I like that. I like that you worded it that way because it does put into perspective that it is a different experience when you're a musician.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I will say I did have a moment not too long ago where I had a bit of a crisis, to be quite honest. I was listening to this. I can't even remember what it was now, but I realized that because of my training, I'm now listening for things like intonation. I'm listening for the performance of the music, not the music itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense.
So, and it's not an enjoyable way to listen, but I realize that this is like the product of my training, because always when I'm listening as I'm performing, you're simultaneously critiquing what you're hearing, adjusting, adapting. You know, there's all of this that's going on in the moment. But then to take those same ears when it's somebody else's performance and be like, oh, that was out of tune, or oh, that tone was, you know, like I've definitely had this bit of a crisis of, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Like, why am I listening in that way? This is not a good way to be listening. So anyway, you have to, what's this, like the first step is admitting you have the problem. So it's like, okay, right. So this now has turned into my listening experience. So now that I'm aware of that, I can, and it's always easier with things that are further than what it is you do to be more charitable or to, you know, but like every time I hear somebody play a cello, I'm just like, okay, what's going on?
I think Sam and I can relate to that because, you know, professionally, I'm an online marketer. So I look at, when I'm on Facebook, I'm not on it the same way that other people are.
Exactly.
And yeah, I look at it completely differently, and I do critique things I see.
Totally. But you know, and I don't think that's bad. Like all that is, it's just you saying, I like this, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yeah.
And part of the Champagne Weather experience has been, okay, we really like this. We hope other people will like it too, but there's the option, there's the potential that, you know, people who used to like the other stuff will not like this, or vice versa. People who didn't like the old stuff will like this, you know. So it's, sometimes we think, oh, well, I shouldn't be so critical. I'm not saying that at all. I think that's a great way to, and yeah, I'm not, I wish I had your skills, Michelle, in that department especially, but you are just refining what it is that you want, or what it is that you don't. And
because you spend so much time,
it's not being critical.
You spend so much time thinking about your own and working on your own that it just automatically translates into critical thinking of something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I can totally relate. Same as Michelle, and also same if I think about going to a theater production, for example. I am a big critic of good and bad.
Or go to an event with Sam and I. We're always like, I wouldn't have done it like that.
You just can't train your brain to not do those things because they're ingrained in you. The more that you do them, the more they're ingrained in you.
But I actually don't think that's bad. Like,
I don't either.
I think it's fine unless you start making like value judgments, or like, oh, well, that's just bad, you know? It's like, okay, well, I wouldn't have chosen that color, or I wouldn't have put the balloons there, but like, whatever, I don't know, like the number of decisions that you guys
First of all, I wouldn't use balloons, Anne.
Yeah, and you wouldn't use balloons, right? Okay, exactly. That's probably like so eco not friendly, and yeah, exactly, right? Like this is how much I know about mint. But I think it is a little bit of a it's a bit semantic, but it's also just that I've been thinking a lot about the what I just wrote a song for Champagne Weather, and one of the lines is what to take and what to leave behind. And it's always this question with us, right? Because as humans, we're trying to become our best selves. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm always like, okay, how can I be better? What can I do? Like, okay, like maybe I can stretch better, or maybe I can meditate longer, or maybe I can write a more beautiful song, or you're always looking for these ways of being your best self, being a better self. But then the other side of that is just acceptance. So you accept who you are, you accept your karma, you accept what you look like and how you react to certain things. Or I just finished taking an astrology course, which was so interesting. And I appreciated the Mercury shout out there at the beginning. But there's so much that we're just given in that moment of birth. It's like, there you go, that's your deal, like this is what you have. And so that was also very liberating, because it's this like, how much do you accept, how much do you take, how much do you leave, how much do you work, how much do you just say, no, this is me, I love this, I am beautiful, like this is great. And how much is like, okay, but I really need a better word in that chorus. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or ideas about that balance of those two elements.
Oh, I have so many thoughts, and that are too many to get into this conversation.
Yeah,
but
I promised myself that I would not talk about myself the whole time, so I'm trying to like bring you guys in. Like,
I am a quoteaholic, and I was just looking for this quote. I shared it on my women's social network, or my podcast page the other day. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. It's by Glennon Doyle. I don't know if you've read the book Untamed, but if you haven't, Anne, you absolutely should. It's an amazing book by Glennon Doyle. Okay. And this is the quote. A woman who is full of herself knows and trusts herself enough to say and do what must be done. She lets the rest burn.
Yeah.
And it is my favorite quote, because it's actually a visual quote for me. It's like the imagery of like letting the rest burn is just like such a visual power statement to me, because it's like, that stuff, like you were talking about, the stuff that you're leaving behind, you don't need it. So just let it go. Right. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, I like that quote, Sam. But I just let me also just add something there, which is that what I leave, somebody else might be able to use. So it's not necessarily, and it comes back to this like, it's right for me, it's not right for me. But I'm also obsessed with permaculture right now. Like everybody's growing their pandemic gardens, right? Yeah. And so I took this course, and and we planted like 20 trees and stuff. Charlie the tree guy's really happy with me right now. But it's like, you see the ways in which nature works. There's nothing that goes unused, and everybody is the symbiosis, all of these things, like my waste is your food, is this and that, and in like so many multiple ways. And so I guess, yes, burn is one way, and sure, like the phoenix, there's lots of stuff that can come from the burning too, but I also sort of feel like, what's that?
Figuratively burning.
Yeah. But even that figurative burning, like I think there's, you can also make things useful to other people, I guess is what I'm saying too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. I found the song too. So it's Bonnie Light Horseman, Deep in Love. You will love this song. It is so beautiful. Like, yeah,
Okay,
it turned
wait, I
me
gotta
back
write it
into a fan. Yeah, write it down.
down.
It's Bonnie Light Horseman. It's this kind
Okay.
of super group. Deep in Love. It's just got this beautiful melody. I'm such a sucker for melody, even though it's not very popular right now. But yeah, it's a lovely tune.
That's
Anyway,
so
just to
cool.
finish that thought.
Yeah, I'm glad that you found it. And we're just about to wrap up our chat. It's been such an amazing opportunity to chat with you and to see your face after such a long
Yeah, I
time.
know.
And
Yes.
we always wrap up with a final question, and I'm going to throw it to Michelle to ask you.
Okay.
So one of our categories for our Local Love Truro Awards is Most Loved Place to Show Off Truro. So where you are gone a lot in normal pre times, I guess it's where do you most love to come back to, place, that sort of thing, or where do you like to show off Truro when you have somebody visiting from another place?
Hmm. Yeah. I'm such a food person.
Oh yeah.
So I often will go there. I've really enjoyed going to Novelty. That was one of
Yes.
my favorite spots.
Mm-hmm.
We really love to go to Victoria Park. That's also a big, and the bike pack. I guess maybe it just depends on who's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if I've got kids, I you know you know
Oh, we're losing you a little bit here, my dear.
Yeah. You're frozen.
She's frozen. She loves food. And
And
back.
Victoria Park and Novelty.
yes. Oh, are you back? Maybe?
Am I back?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh dear.
We almost
And
made it.
that pesky Mercury, Anne, that pesky Mercury.
I know. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. Technology is awesome when it works, right?
Well, it's just telling us
Awesome.
that we really do need to wrap up our conversation.
Yeah, especially now.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I really, really love what you're doing. And I am falling in love with this place even deeper now that we're spending more time here. It's awesome to see what people like you two are doing to just celebrate what's here and to make what's here cooler and to, yeah, just create the stuff that you want to see. It's very inspiring, and I'm just delighted to be blah blahing with you. Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, yeah, it's really fun to explore different topics and to, I don't know, hopefully there's something we can all learn together.
100% agreed. Thank you so much, and say hi to James for us. And
I will. Yeah.
hopefully we'll get. Actually, we'll hear your Christmas single in the next couple weeks. So
Yeah. I hope you like it.
awesome. Alrighty, thanks, and thanks to everybody for watching and asking questions as well.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, guys.